The first time I met James, I didn't think much of him. He was just another 8th grader, average grades, nothing particularly exceptional. In classes taught by men, he followed the rules, did his work, and blended into the background like any other student who was simply biding his time until the final bell. But in classes taught by women, James was a different creature altogether. He refused to sit in his assigned seat. He would openly ignore instructions. He wouldn't even refer to his female teachers by their last names, simply calling them woman, or in my case, young woman, as if I were beneath him. One day, after asking him, politely, to sit down, he turned to me and said, without hesitation, "Shut up talking to me." It was 2018. I was staring at a 13-year-old boy who had just spoken to his teacher like she was beneath the sole of his shoe. Not long after, he was suspended. It wasn't for his behavior toward me, but for something equally appalling. He was walking through the hallway with his hood up, a minor infraction, but against school policy nonetheless. When the female vice principal reminded him to put it down, he glared at her, unwavering, and said, "I don't take orders from women." At this point, none of us were surprised. We were, however, eager for parent-teacher conferences. Because James' attitude wasn't just an issue of a rebellious teenager pushing boundaries. No, this kind of ingrained contempt for women doesn't come from nowhere. It was passed down. And that's how I found myself sitting in a conference room, waiting to meet the parents. James' father spoke first. He discussed the suspension, nodding along as he explained how he had a good conversation with his son about respect. He sounded reasonable, even thoughtful. Maybe, I thought, there was hope for James after all. Then his wife spoke. She hesitated, voice softer, careful. She said they were considering anger management counseling for James. That's when it happened. The man who had, seconds ago, been speaking in measured tones, slammed his hand down on the table. The entire room jolted, the air itself tightening around us. And then he roared at his wife. "Woman!" One word, one deafening, snarling word, spat like venom from his mouth. The way she recoiled, shrinking into herself, told us everything. James was not the problem. James was the symptom. I realized, in that moment, that every sneer, every dismissal, every "I don't take orders from women" had come from years of hearing his father do the same. The man didn't even seem to realize what he'd done. He carried on, as if he hadn't just shattered every last ounce of doubt we had about where James got it from. His wife nodded silently. No argument. No fight. Just submission. And suddenly I saw it so clearly. James hadn't just learned to disrespect women. He'd learned that this was how men were supposed to act. And until someone stronger than his father's voice, showed him otherwise, he'd never unlearn it. We finished the conference, watching his mother shrink deeper and deeper into herself while his father dominated the conversation. As they left, I knew one thing for certain. If James didn't find a new role model, a better role model, then he was destined to become his father. And the cycle would never end.